series, we're going to be following my journey as I learned to convert my 2006 Toyota Hiace Commuter into a fully off-grid camper van. Hey guys, so at the moment I'm going to try and tackle the rest of the windows and try and get the walls done today. So essentially when I'm doing the windows, and if I was to do this again I might not have done it the same way, but I kind of want framed windows, so to have a really nice lining rather than have the bare metal. I think it just looks a bit more professional. Lots of different ways you can do this. The way I've decided to do it is to frame it out with plywood. So I think this is 12mm ply. So frame it out, it's a nice sturdy, secure piece. Frame out the interior of the window like this, make sure it's all secure, and then I can attach my internal framing, which will be pine here. Okay, so what I've got to do for this larger window, because it's even more difficult than the rest, is line the top. I'll probably replace this with something wider, and then do that angled section, work out how I'm going to do the corner because I haven't figured that out yet, and then yeah, I'll keep you updated. So when I'm doing this, I like to just pre-drill my holes. I use self-tapping screws, but I've done it on, found in some of the other sections the metal's quite thick and the screws struggle to get through. So I just mix it up and try and pre-drill where I can. I'm using galvanized screws. That's just because you can get moisture building up in the walls. I don't want to have a situation later on where I have rusty screws. Had a couple of comments about my knee pads, by the way, and although they look really stupid, they are lifesavers. So one thing you always want to be careful with this, obviously, is make sure you know where you're drilling. This is a nice thick section. I know there's lots of space behind. I've had friends that have drilled all the way through and it's come out the other side and it's not good. So I don't need to do it the whole way along, but I obviously wanted to do it in here. Cool, it does the job. And now the next stage is just to put something over here that's flush with it, ends up being flush with that. So I've got these 6mm pieces that I cut, which actually might be perfect. Yeah, I reckon they're almost all perfect, and then I can just sand them. So I've made a bit of progress since last time. Done this, framed out those two windows, but all following the same process. This is a little bit difficult. I actually want to keep the handle here. So what I've done is sort of cut this out just by eye, and now I've just got to sort of line it up here, but should be about right, to be honest. That's my second attempt, which I'm happy enough with. Okay, and then I've just got to screw this in, match the curve, put in the inner bit, put in the inner section, map that to the curve, cut it, and then I'll be all good. close enough. Ooh, hot day. Okay, so I'll just show you what I've done. Edge is done and mapped. This edge is done, mapped to the curve. This top edge is done, and that will allow me to secure the next parts on. And then this bit, I've just got to do that final bit on the right. This will be completely done. Next step after that is going to be to put studs up there, and then I can basically put up this section of wall and that section of wall, which will hopefully allow me to start painting tomorrow. So cut the board, and this is going to be first time to see whether it fits. It's obviously quite an odd shape, so a bit of a gamble, but we'll see how it goes. I realised just as I finished filling all the holes yesterday and lining this up and making sure it looked really nice, that these cables are meant to be behind this board. So I've now got to take this board off. I'm off to buy some wiring conduit so I can figure out a way to thread this down here, because the idea is that my switch panel is going to be around this section. And it's super frustrating, but has to be done, I guess. So I've wasted about half a day. Well, this has set me back about half a day, but like I said, I finished, put the wall up, realised the wiring was meant to be running behind it, but the way that I've installed the wall means that there isn't a natural path for the wire, and I tried ways of sort of running it in between the edges and behind the window frame, but realistically that wasn't going to work. So what I ended up doing, and I think is going to work, is I have 12mm ply on the wall right here, right? So what I've done with this section here is, and it doesn't look great, I'm going to make it look a bit nicer, but essentially I've cut in by about 6mm, pretty much halfway through the board, and then cut this sort of this route for the wires to run through. One thing you got to be careful of when you do things like this is obviously if it's rubbing and your wire's not protected, it can wear through the wire. So I've got some electrical tape. I'm gonna sand this down and seal it with some wood filler, just so that there's no sharp edges or anything like that. But I'm also gonna wrap it in electrical tape just to make sure there's a bit more protection going through there, and then that should run down there, and then we'll essentially pop out the board around there. You'll also notice my brand new chair. We found this on the side of the road, but actually it gives you a ton of support when you're working the van. Took that bit of advice from Insight Van Conversions. They've got all their sort of stools in the van. Makes a massive difference. so made a bit of progress. Just going to talk you through the wall and what I ended up doing with the wiring. So as I mentioned earlier, I had to take this wall off because I hadn't done the wiring, or I'd forgotten about it. So what I ended up doing was cutting a big groove through the piece of wood that goes behind here, bringing them all down, and then it pops out right there, which has worked really well. Really happy with that. Now gone and sort of tried to fill that gap to make it look like one piece of wood. Although one thing I'm conscious of with the wood filler is that it might not handle the vibrations very well because it's quite like a, I guess, brittle. So what I'm testing over here is I've actually used some of the adhesive sealant that I use, the Sikaflex, and I'm basically I'm just testing at the bottom here because you can't really see it if it goes wrong, but I just want to see if that's able to make it look like one piece of wood better, and it will also definitely handle the vibrations better, so that when the two pieces are shifting, maybe with heat or moisture or whatever, it's not going to cause a crack to open up in the paint, or at least that is the theory. Yeah, so in terms of progress, this window's done. This took way longer than I thought, so unfortunately I didn't make as much progress as I planned today, but all of the panels are now sanded, ready for primer. I picked that up earlier. I'm just going to take all the measurements for the remaining sections now and see if I can do it with the wood that I've got. So yeah, I mean, lessons for this, definitely measure before you cut. I did a bit better on the first one than I did on the second window, although it's not too bad, to be honest. So yeah, big day, absolutely knackered, but it's going to be, yeah, I'm super happy with how it turned out.